Welcome back to the Fitness, Wellness, and Longevity Podcast. If you are new here, the Fitness, Wellness, and Longevity Podcast is all about optimizing the health and performance of the ageless athlete. We interview tons of different guests from the fitness, nutrition, and wellness community. So if you're into that type of thing, make sure you subscribe. In today's episode, my special guest is Catharine Arnston, the CEO of Energy Bits. Energy Bits is an algae-based food that contains different forms of the most potent food on earth, algae. In our conversation, Catharine and I discuss how Energy Bits came to be, the benefits of algae, including the slowing of aging and increasing of energy, and how algae farms may be the solution to global warming. If you like this podcast, make sure you subscribe, rate, review, share it with a friend, and enjoy this conversation with Catharine Arnston. Catharine, where does this podcast find you?
Sean, it finds me in Boston, Massachusetts, where the fall weather has kicked in. Didn't wait very long. It's a beautiful sunny day, dry, perfect day for running, doing anything outdoors. I'll hope to get out there myself soon.
I love that. I love that. So I know Energy Bits is a very active lifestyle and active person supplement. And I do call it a supplement, even though it is a food. Yes. So that's a great place to start here.
Yeah.
Because that was something that kind of took me aback. I go, oh, wow, this is food. Can you give me the distinction between what a supplement is and what food is?
Yes. Well, supplements are made from extracts, and they are compiled in usually a factory using high heat. And the sad thing is, not sad, but the unfortunate reality is extracts don't exist like that in nature. And whenever you use high heat for anything, you kill some of the nutritional value. You scramble the nutrients. So when you take supplements, I don't know if people know this, but your body only absorbs about 5 or 10% of what's in there. And that's why the numbers are so high, 10,000 of this and 5,000 of that, because your body's only absorbing a very small percent of it, because we're from nature. And so, and that's why I love algae. One of the many reasons I love algae. And I'm going to show you a picture. This is an algae farm. This one happens to be Spirulina. Algae is a crop. It is a vegetable crop. It's a very unusual vegetable crop because it's not grown in soil. And ours isn't grown in the ocean. Algae does exist in the oceans, but 99.9% of the algae you find in the marketplace, including ours, the Spirulina and Chlorella, are harvested in fresh water. This is very important. And what makes us so special is our water is triple filtered, so it's very clean. And we do not use high heat to dry it. Most of the companies do. So our algae tablets are a raw food because there has been no change to the nutrients, no change to the enzymes. And the reason why it's important for your community to understand that is you absorb 99.9% of the nutrients, compared to about 5% of what's in supplements. So, and we'll get to this later on, but because of the high nutrient density, there's 40 vitamins and minerals, high protein, that's 3 times the amount of protein as steak, high chlorophyll, 500 times more than arugula. It's what I call efficient nutrition. And because it's food, your body gets all the enzymes and coenzymes and factors and cofactors. It knows what to do with it. And it does not know what to do with things like multivitamins and all those other things. So you can replace most of your vitamins with algae and save money, save time, and save the earth, by the way, because algae is a sustainable crop.
This sounds too good to be true, Catharine.
I know. Hey, when I started the company almost 11 years ago. It was after my younger sister had breast cancer, and I can tell you more about that. But she's fine now, but her oncologist told her to change her diet to an alkaline diet. I helped her research what that was, which led me to plant-based nutrition, which led me to algae. And I have an MBA. I was doing international business. I knew nothing about nutrition. And so when I started doing the deep dive into algae and found out it was the most alkaline food in the world, 3 times the amount of protein as steak, endorsed by the United Nations since 1976 for that reason. The most nutrient-dense food in the world, in the universe. We have a quote from NASA that says 1 gram of algae has the same nutrition as 1,000 grams of fruits or vegetables. 1 to 1,000, that's a big number. And it's been the most studied food in the world there's not just one or 100 or 1,000 studies on algae. There are virtually 100,000 studies on spirulina and chlorella, documenting, scientifically proving the efficacy of it and the benefits you gain from it, some of which we'll touch on today. And it's been used for centuries. It's a multi-billion-dollar agricultural crop in Asia. It's almost as big as the beef industry is here. And the Japanese take chlorella, which is one of our algae, every single day. And they have the best longevity, lowest cancer rates, lowest obesity rates, great skin and hair. And the problem is nobody has ever explained what algae is to people outside of Asia, why it works, the science that document it, and made the packaging consumer friendly. So the reason why everyone's getting sick or not getting optimal health or optimal fitness is because our food supply is so damaged, our soils are damaged, new supplements don't work. And so your body just can't perform optimally or at all. Frankly, there's more diabetes, heart disease, and cancer than ever. And also we're so loaded with toxins. So we'll talk about the two algae because they do both of those things. They fill all nutritional gaps and they pull out all toxins. Easy peasy. And one of the reasons I found people weren't eating vegetables is because they're heavy to carry home from the grocery store. They take a long time to cook, to clean, to eat. You fight with your kids. You fight with your husbands or spouses or boyfriends. Guys are notorious for not wanting to eat vegetables. And French fries don't count. I'm sure your audience doesn't eat any French fries, but their kids probably do. So I'm here to tell you, algae tablets are effortless nutrition. Every single one of these tablets has the same nutrition as a heaping plate of vegetables. If you can swallow water, you can get the nutrition you need to perform at your work optimally, avoid all the illnesses that everyone else is getting, keep your kids healthy, your immune system strong, outperform your colleagues in marathons, triathlons, weightlifting, not have any muscle soreness because chlorella pulls out lactic acid, have a great sleep, a great bowel movement, and get up and do it the next day. Effortlessly.
I mean, I'm sold already here, but we've got to pull back the layers a little bit here, Catherine. Yes. So you said you started this company about 11 years ago.
Yes.
What has changed in terms of your mindset, in terms of your knowledge? What has changed in the last 11 years in terms of the way that you're approaching this or the things that you've discovered from the beginning?
Well, not much has changed for me because when I saw the science, and I've read probably close to 1,000, maybe more scientific papers about algae, so I could completely convince myself that this stuff was real because it does sound too good to be true. So I've been committed to educating the world about algae and why it is necessary for us in this time in our life. But what has changed is that finally people are starting to listen to me because let's face it, we're a very fast-paced society. We have lots of distractions. We want to travel here. We want to do that. And then out of the blue, COVID hit. Boom. And the world put pause on it. It just put pause on everything. Everything we knew was changed. Our fitness routines, our lifestyles, our ability to travel, our ability to go grocery shopping even just changed in an instant. And people started to pay attention to the fact that they needed to be stronger and healthier in order to avoid this particular virus. And it's just changed the entire direction of priorities. Wellness, and I will point out, sustainability and the environment are the two most talked about important dialogues that are occurring in our consumer world nationwide, globally. And algae is the answer for both of them. So I was heckled. I used to speak at triathlon clubs telling them about how, because we did actually start as a sports nutrition company. That sort of is the one change that occurred because when I first started, a lot of my team were runners. And so they got their blogging friends who were runners to write about us, which got the word out to the running community. And we sent them samples. And of course, spirulina gives you energy and focus like nothing else and does not upset your stomach. And then the triathletes found out about us and then the Olympic athletes. And so it just kept, so for 5 years, we morphed into a sports nutrition company because we gave people the best performance without sugar, caffeine, carbs. By the way, algae is ketogenic. and it's vegan. It's the only ketogenic vegan food in the world. But I used to go to these triathlon clubs and they would heckle me and say, how can something with 1 calorie, because there's only 1 calorie per tablet, give me energy? And this is when I was first starting. And I said, well, I'll have to get back to you on that. And so that's when my deep dive into the science began. And I'd like to share some of the reasons why spirulina does give you energy. It has nothing to do with the calories. It's the way that the nutritional components match perfectly the biochemistry of the body and its needs, both mentally and physically. Remember, we came from nature and algae came from nature. In fact, algae was the first life on Earth, not just the first plant life, the first life period on Earth almost 4 billion years ago. There's something magical about this stuff, and it's still here. It's outlasted ice ages, dinosaurs. It's still here. It's everywhere. It's in the oceans, the lakes, the rivers, the streams, your swimming pool, your aquarium. But everyone thinks of it as pond scum or an algae bloom that's ruining their day at the beach. And I'm here to tell you, algae is a game changer for you, your children, and the world from a nutritional perspective. It just needed to be explained properly.
So what is it today? Is it a sports supplement, or do you see this as a food?
What happened was the athletes loved the product, and I had so many Olympic teams using it that I sent 2 of my team to the Winter Olympics in Sochi, and we had complete invitation at the American Olympic Village, the Canadian Olympic Village, because I happen to be Canadian. So because we had so many athletes loving it, I thought, well, I guess we should go into the retail market for sports. So we started doing all the trade shows for sports. We did the triathlon shows, the running shows, the cycling shows, and we couldn't get the retailers to pick us up because we sell them in little single pouches that you could tuck in your gym shorts if you're going on a long run, but they're only $4. And you have to remember, this was about 8 years ago when Amazon was beginning its world domination, and the retailers were terrified. So they were only taking on products that were very expensive, like $500 or $1,000, or were a big known brand, because they just didn't have the shelf space or the marketing machinery to support something that was new. Even though it was loved, it was still new and it was only $4. So I kind of, with my tail between my legs after 3 years of trying to get into the sports retail marketplace, I thought, this isn't working. And at that time, I was invited by someone who had seen me talk, because I speak at a lot of conferences, keto conferences, wellness conferences. They'd heard a speech of mine and they said, why don't you come to a chiropractic conference? We hold it. We'll give you a space for free because we love what you're doing. So I thought, well, I'm not doing anything that can't get into the retail market for sports nutrition. Sure, I'll do something. I knew nothing about chiropractors. By the way, there's 80,000 chiropractors in North America. 80% of them sell supplements. So we went to the chiropractic show, and it was love at first sight, because chiropractors do way more than adjustments on your bones. They're very much do nutritional counseling. So they knew about algae. I didn't have to stand on my head and try to tell them about the benefits of spirulina and chlorella. They already knew about it, but they had never been able to find a high quality physician grade, third-party lab tested brand. So they were thrilled to find us because we did all the science for them. We do lab tests. So when I didn't have to sort of do somersaults to convince them about the value of algae, because they already knew about it, I found my new home. So for the last 4 or 5 years, we've been addressing specifically the functional medicine, chiropractic, homeopathic community. And we haven't sold through regular retailers. We didn't want to, because we're a very high quality brand, high price as well, but that's because of the safety and security and effort that we've gone into to ensure that you get the very best, which means you also need to use less of it. But we were quite happy to stay focused on the practitioner community for the last 4 years. Of course, then everything got shut down because of COVID, because they understood the value proposition. They understood the nutrition. They knew how to explain it. they were just grateful to find a high quality supplier. And so we're now growing beyond that into spas, cryotherapy, because we, again, are the only company, and I'm the only person doing deep dives into the science. And I enjoy this. I probably should have been a scientist. I have the equivalent of a PhD in algae nutrition. I enjoy explaining complex concepts to people so that they can understand that this is not smoke and mirrors. It just is how your body, you need to understand what your body needs and why algae is the easiest way to get what it needs to keep you and you're not only optimal, but just healthy. There's so many people that are just so deprived of nutrition. They don't even know what it feels like to be healthy. So at least your community probably is, on the upper end of health, but there's always more to do for brain health, gut health, performance improvements, better sleep, better everything.
Who do you think it benefits the most from something like this, from Energy Bits? Because do you see this as like something that people who are sick are going to take? Or are you saying this is more of an optimization product?
This is for everybody. And so it's sort of like, that's a really tough question because algae is what's called an adaptogen. It knows what to do in your body. So if you don't need the particular nutrients, you don't absorb them. But that's why I was recently on a podcast by a doctor by the name of Dr. Stephen Gundry, who's quite well-known, former heart surgeon, has his own, still has a practice, has this podcast, but his community tends to be older. They're, in their 60s and 70s. And when I was on his podcast, we were unexpectedly slammed with orders. We had no idea that his community would be so interested because we usually work with younger, more healthy people, but these were people that were struggling with energy, struggling with brain fog, struggling with autoimmune, diabetes, heart disease, every illness, trust me. And you know what? I turned 65 in 10 days, and I am the poster child for how healthy you can be on algae. I mean, I still eat other food, but I could not live without this stuff. And I have no trouble sleeping, no trouble with energy, no trouble with mental fog. My skin is clear, no wrinkles. And so, I plan to live like Dave Asprey to 120, and I couldn't do it without algae because so to answer your question, it depends on what it is that you're looking for. If you are doing intermittent fasting, spirulina is the best thing for you. We call ours Energy Bits because both of them, as I mentioned, are ketogenic. It does not have any carbs in it. You will stay in a fasted state, but with no hunger and no fatigue. You can take 5 in seconds. There's no prep work required. It can be by itself or with other food, doesn't really matter. And then, or if you're maybe trying to lose weight, it can be a meal replacement. Take 15 or 20 and you'll be satisfied for hours. And there's only 1 calorie per tablet. If you are having a hard time, don't like vegetables or just don't have the time to prepare them, or your kids and rest of your family members won't eat them, and you're concerned about their dietary requirements being met, again, boom, spirulina is your answer. It is a better replacement, far healthier replacement for omega-3. Lots of people use fish oil for the omega-3, and studies have proven that all the fish oil, by the time you buy it, it's already rancid. And so you're causing inflammation instead of removing it, number one. Number two, I don't know if you've seen the Netflix movie called Seaspiracy, which talks about the damage being done to the ocean because of the overfishing for fish oil. Even they recommend algae as the solution because, as I point out, where do you think the fish get the omega-3 from that's found in their fish oil? Well, they get it from algae. So algae never goes bad, never goes rancid, saves the ocean, saves you. It's just the more natural thing to do. And there's no burping of fish. I can't take fish oil because it repeats. I'll be tasting it all day and all night. So it never happens with algae. So if you want a replacement for vegetables, protein, if you're doing intermittent fasting, you want a better workout, because of the nutrients that are found in spirulina, as I mentioned, the hecklers at the triathlon clubs, that when I started to point out that spirulina has the highest protein in the world, and all the protein is already in amino acid form. So there is no work for your body to do to get access to it, unlike animal protein, which can take 2 to 3 days, and you only end up absorbing about 10% because you may not have all the factors and cofactors that you need to absorb it. So all those aminos get into your bloodstream instantly. Spirulina is technically a bacteria. It does not have a cellulose wall. This, again, is why the athletes loved it so much, because they get all that amino, all that protein with no work. It's absorbed instantly because there's nothing to break down. And it's loaded with B vitamins, which convert the aminos into energy. So again, very efficient. It's also what's called a vasodilator. It releases nitric oxide, which allows your blood to flow faster to bring nutrients and oxygen to your muscles and to your brain. Loaded with, as I mentioned, essential fatty acids, which help with your brain thought, boron, which help with your synapses. The athletes, the amazing thing they found was not only did it give them steady energy, so we're not talking a rush or a drop. It's just, you might not even notice it, except you just feel great. You just feel alert and everything is just steady. But what they didn't expect was the focus that they got mentally. And as you know, anybody who is an athlete, you know, when you're doing some endurance sports and you're fatigued, the first thing that goes is your focus. And it's hard to maintain your momentum when your focus is drifting off. So this brings you back to having that high focus. And it's not like a drug. You don't have to take more the next time. You just keep taking it. Algae should be taken, spirulina should be taken every single day by every single person in the world. Doesn't matter whether you're 1-year-old, 100-year-old, and it's great for pets too. And I do want to address chlorella, which is a completely different algae and has completely different benefits. And it too should be on every single homeowner, just every single person that breathes, animal that breathes should be taking chlorella as well. For different reasons.
So I wanted to expand on something here because, obviously your Energy Bits is kind of marketed with highlighting the protein. But one of the most profound things I ever learned was the fact that algae contains omega-3s. And when you compare it to fish oil or krill oil or any other types of omega-3s, you have to get it through another animal. Right.
Yeah.
And it's, there's downsides to the environment as a result as well. So can you speak a little bit more how, like, not only is this great for the person who consumes it, but how algae could potentially, or growing algae and algae farms can maybe like lead us to a brighter future environmentally as well?
Some people, I can't believe, it's not that I can't believe it, but I am more passionate about algae now than I was when I first started this, because I've had 11 years now to study it. And every single day I learn something more about it. And it's like having a child prodigy. It's like, wow, you do that too? Algae, where do I even start? I was on Shark Tank, and one of the questions Mark Cuban asked me, he says, well, is there any science to back up what you're saying? And I paused, because out of the 100,000 studies, I was thinking, well, which one do I reference? And he misinterpreted my pause as I didn't know anything. But my pause was like, how do you explain air to a child? Like, how do you explain something that's so world shattering as algae to someone who doesn't even know what it is? So fortunately, I'm not alone in this. There's scientists all over the world. Algae is being used for fertilizer, animal feed, fabrics. Gore-Tex just launched an entire clothing line made of algae because it's the most sustainable crop in the world. Reebok launched a running shoe last year made of plants, and the liner was made just of algae because it kills bacteria. So yes, algae is going to change the world. It's going to be the biggest industry of the 21st century. And I'm going to do everything I can to help move that along as soon as possible, because First of all, it provides 80% of the oxygen on Earth. Not the Amazon rainforest, God bless them too, though. It also is the fastest growing organism in the world. So when you do have algae farms growing, you can get 10 crops a year. When you grow corn or wheat, they're terrible, crops because they have no nutritional value in their inventory. But anyways, you can get way more algae per year than you can from any of those things. Algae grows in fresh water, as I mentioned, so it can be grown in deserts if you have access to the proper water. So it doesn't use up any valuable arable land. It kills bacteria when it's growing. You may not know this, but it's used in every single water treatment plant in the world. Well, certainly in North America and most of the world. That's why your water sometimes looks a little green, because it's the algae. So when it's grown in water, you can just reuse the water because it kills the bacteria when it's growing. So it uses about a third of the water. You get 200 times more protein per acre from algae than you do from animal farming. And when you grow algae, there is zero waste. So there's so much waste from animal agriculture or even other agriculture. There is zero waste with algae. So it's the most efficient crop in the world, the most efficient source of protein. That's why in 1974, the United Nations held a global conference on spirulina algae. You can Google it and find it. And they declared it the answer to world hunger because of the high protein and because it was sustainable, which meant that it could be grown pretty much anywhere. So, I have very big plans and visions of once we get really settled and growing into a very big company, like I want to start up an algae academy and get people certified on algae nutrition and teach people around the world how to grow it themselves. It's pretty remarkable, and it can be a replacement for just about anything. In Japan, it's in everything already. Their teas, their proteins. You can put in crackers. You can put 10 years ago, we didn't know about chia seed or quinoa, and it's now in so many of our snack foods. Not that I'm encouraging snacking, but if you are going to snack, you might as well have something that's got some plant-based nutrition in it. Pea protein never existed. I remind people that algae isn't new. It's just new to you. And the industry is very sophisticated. It's just not well known by consumers outside of Asia, or in particular not outside of Japan. But it's been used. It was used by the Egyptians 2,000 years ago. And the Aztecs in Mexico used it as a main food supply, before the Spaniards came by. So there is no question about the suitability of algae. It is the easiest digested food in the world. It's so easy to digest that in Japan, when babies can't digest mother's breast milk, that's what they give them in water. And I've discovered that the amino acid profile of spirulina and chlorella is almost identical to mother's breast milk. And we know mother's breast milk is the perfect food, but it's very difficult to get after the age of 2. And on that note, when you were talking about omega-3, because our algae is not dried with high heat, it's a raw food, and there is an omega-6 in spirulina called GLA. Now, normally people would turn their nose up at an omega-6, and rightfully so, but that's because they're all processed, and so they become inflammatory. GLA, which is gamma-linolenic acid, in our algae, because there's no heat, it is just like omega-3, and there is the only place that has more of this GLA essential fatty acid than spirulina is mother's breast milk. And the reason why there's so much of it in mother's breast milk is because the baby's brain doubles or triples in size within the first couple of years. But we all need healthy brains, right? That's what nootropics are all about. So spirulina is the best way to get that benefit. We've worked with teams even in high school. The coaches give it to their kids, their players who have ADHD, and boom, their focus is back. We've had customers email us and tell us they forgot their depression medication on a holiday. Remember, we used to take holidays? So they just doubled up their energy bits and found out they didn't need their medication any longer. Now, we're not advocating that you come off any medication without consulting with your practitioner. And I am not a doctor, and so I do not want anyone to take any of my guidance and information as advice. I'm just sharing what I have discovered in all the science. I don't say anything that I do not have an NIH referenced document to support, to back up what I'm saying. So I'm not telling you anything that doesn't already exist. I didn't create the science. I didn't create algae. I just am making it easy for people to understand and get a safe version of it so that they can feel comfortable that they and their families are getting the nutrients they need to have the best life ever.
I had a question about the protein in particular that is contained in algae. Is the entire essential amino acid profile bioavailable from algae?
Yeah, well, it has 18 of the 20 aminos, and it's a complete amino. It's a complete protein for that reason. I give a lot of credit to a company called Vital Proteins that brought collagen to people's attention, because collagen really wasn't known. And of course, your bones, your skin, your joints in particular require collagen. And so they started in 2013, and in 8 years, they have grown into literally $1 billion company that was acquired for $1 billion by Nestle's last June 2020. So the point is that they've made collagen understandable, available, and pretty safe from what I can see. But what I have learned is that algae, collagen powder is not a complete protein. It does have most of the aminos, but it is missing tryptophan. Mm-hmm. And tryptophan cannot be made by your body. A complete protein is anything that contains all the amino acids that your body cannot make. Mm-hmm. So collagen does not have tryptophan. Guess what? Chlorella algae has not only just tryptophan, both of them have tryptophan, but it has the highest tryptophan in the world. It has 5 times more tryptophan than even turkey. So I'm proud to tell you that not only does both algae have the same amount of as aminos as collagen, it has them in a healthier proportion, because it's not just which aminos, it's what proportions are those aminos in. So not only does algae give you all the same protein, it also gives you 40 additional vitamins and minerals and chlorophyll. And we need to talk about chlorophyll, because
I definitely wanted to unpack the chlorophyll. So,
and one last thing.
Go right ahead.
Collagen powder is made, I don't know if people know this, from ground crushed animal bones or fish bones. So it's not a sustainable crop, and algae is. So I'm very grateful to Vital Proteins and the other collagen companies that are out there helping people get healthier and have healthier joints, clearer skin, better bones, better digestion with collagen. And bone broth is another source of collagen, of course. But it also doesn't have chlorophyll, and it also is not sustainable. So you completely up level when you take algae. It's the prize.
Absolutely. So we'll unpack chlorophyll in just a second. But again, in terms of if someone was consuming chlorophyll, would they have to then supplement any other amino acids so that they get all the essential amino acids, or would they just be fine with chlorophyll?
Well, when you buy chlorophyll, that's all you're getting. And chlorophyll drops are having a real
I apologize.
moment.
I apologize.
That's okay.
Algae. Yes.
If you take algae,
will you need to supplement other amino acids?
Nope.
Okay.
Nope.
Full bioavailability, entire essential.
Full bioavailability, easy access, easy digestion, virtually no digestion. That's why newborn baby, pregnant moms, nursing moms, all safe for everybody, pets, and such easy access, especially spirulina, because it has no cellulose wall to break down. But chlorella is a different story.
Yes. Now, I had a question about in terms of the how you come up with these unbelievably small, power-packed food. How much algae is grown to get into one energy?
That's an interesting question. I've never been asked that.
I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, man, I wonder how much actually has to go into this thing.
Well, think of it this way. And we didn't really talk about
fish tanks that we're looking at here.
Yeah, right. I don't know that number, but that's a very good question. It's the first time I've been asked that. But the only answer I can give you is that we're talking about a category called microalgae. And just as a backdrop, algae has two main categories. One is called macroalgae. The other is microalgae. Macroalgae is that stringy stuff that washes up on shore, also known as seaweed, dulse, kelp. Yep. And it has lots of great fiber and iodine because it comes from the ocean, but virtually no nutrition. Zero nutrition. It's a great filler, but zero nutrition. That's not what we're talking about today. We're talking about microalgae, which is called microalgae, because, and here's the best answer I can give you to your question, literally 1 million cells fit on the head of a pin of microalgae. That's how small it is, okay? So I'll have to see if I can figure out how, what that calculation is. But this is why it's so hard for you to wrap your head around the fact that every one of these teeny tiny little tablets that are about the size of a baby aspirin have the same nutrition as a heaping plate of vegetables. Now, I just chewed one. It's like I just had a plate of vegetables. I eat this stuff all day long. And I couldn't, like I said before, I couldn't live without it.
And while you're chewing that, I'll fill in the gap here with another question that I had coming to mind here. So you mentioned chlorophyll and the unbelievable health benefits of chlorophyll. Can we dive into that a little bit? Because that was one of the big topics that I saw. I was like, wow, this is something that is definitely not no other product is talking about. So can you unpack that a little bit for us?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, chlorophyll is a pigment. Probably most people know that. It's what makes plants green, but it's also an antioxidant. It's also essential for your health. And I'm going to show you why. And I could talk about chlorophyll all day long. I'm going to show you a chart that shows you the chemical composition of your hemoglobin and the chemical composition of chlorophyll. And we'll send you these graphics so that you can post them as well. They are identical. If you look closely, they're identical, except your blood has iron in the middle, and that's what carries oxygen in your blood. And instead, your chlorophyll has magnesium. This is why chlorophyll builds your blood. They had used chlorophyll for centuries, even as recently as World War II. And when they ran out of blood for transfusions, they would give the injured liquid chlorophyll because they would heal just as fast because chlorophyll mimics your blood. And in fact, if you want an interesting little side note, chlorophyll is green because it's reflecting light. But when you put it under an LED light, it's red, just like our blood. So when you have healthy blood, that is your highway, your freeway that delivers all the nutrients to your organs, to your brain, to your muscles, to your stomach. And if you have healthy blood, everything else is going to work a lot better. But here's the problem. There's virtually no chlorophyll in our food supply anymore. And this is because the soils are so damaged, there's virtually no nutrients left for the plants to pull up, even if you are eating vegetables. And the ozone layer is so damaged that they're finding, and I've got all the science references, they're finding that plants now have more sugar and less protein and less nutrients. So you could eat a room full of arugula and not get the same, not even come close to the same amount of chlorophyll that's in this little container right here. A room full. One tablet has the equivalent, or rather, algae has 500 times more chlorophyll than arugula. It has 25 times more chlorophyll than even, drum roll, liquid chlorophyll. Why? Because liquid chlorophyll is made from alfalfa sprouts. There is nothing in the world with more chlorophyll than algae, especially chlorella algae, which is called chlorella algae because of the chlorophyll. So that's number one. It builds your blood. Healthy blood is a healthy body. Number two, chlorophyll, as I mentioned, is a pigment, right? Well, we didn't go into this before, but spirulina is what's called a blue-green algae because it has two pigments in it. It has a blue one, which is called phycocyanin, which has lots of health benefits like stopping the growth of tumors and stopping COVID virus, by the way. Again, all science-based. So spirulina has two pigments. Chlorella is just the green pigment called chlorophyll. I'm going to show you a picture again. This is a picture of Spirulina, when you put it in some water, I put it on a white dish so you can see it. See how beautiful that blue spreads out through the water and disperses evenly. Okay, well, let's look at chlorella, which is just chlorophyll. Look how it clumps. It doesn't spread out like its brother spirulina. I did this experiment 25 or 30 times, like, what is going on here? And then I finally had my epiphany, and it was backed up by science. Chlorophyll is a fat-based pigment. The blue pigment in spirulina is a water-based pigment. That's why it has healing benefits that work in your plasma and in your blood. But because this is a fat-based pigment, guess what? It heals your cell walls. All of your health issues, good or bad, start at the cellular level. And when your cells aren't permeable and you need healthy fats like, drumroll, omega-3, to keep them nourished and moist so that nutrients can get in and toxins can get out, if you don't have that happening, your cell becomes toxic because it can't get rid of the toxins and it can't get access to the nutrients. So chlorophyll heals the cell wall by making it permeable. And the best analogy I've come up with is, when you have dirty windows, you can't see out and sunlight can't get in. So I tell people, think of chlorophyll as window washers for your cell walls. It keeps everything clean so cleansing, lots of people do cleanses. And what are they usually? Green juices, right? It's the chlorophyll that's doing that cleansing. And when things are moving in, the right things are moving in and the bad things are moving out, your mitochondria are very happy. They don't die. They don't shrivel up. They don't release free radicals, and everything works better. But when it doesn't work, that's when you run into diseased cells, damaged mitochondria, lack of oxygen. And Otto Warburg, who was a Nobel Prize winner from the 1930s, I believe, in Germany, he won the Nobel Prize for finding that cancer cannot exist in an oxygenated state. And in fact, they've since discovered that no disease can exist in an alkaline condition. And alkaline is when you have oxygen. Chlorophyll is alkaline. Chlorophyll is oxygenating. It not only heals the cell walls, it makes sure that your cells are alkaline and oxygenated so that the mitochondria don't get sick, your cells don't get sick. And diseases, I know a lot of your listeners are healthy now, but the thing with diseases, particularly autoimmune, and they're realizing now that every disease is related to autoimmune because what it is a cellular dysfunction and it's inflammation. But they don't just show up overnight. They're not like fireworks on July 4th. They call them silent killers because it just gradually, no symptoms, nothing. It takes years to manifest. By the time you're getting pain or you're having issues, it's manifested and now it's got your attention and now it becomes a problem and you try to unwind it. And it can be unwound properly with the right nutrients and the right lifestyle changes, but it doesn't happen overnight. So my point is never let yourself get to that level of inflammation. And you can make it as simple a choice as taking algae every day to protect yourself. And again, it's all validated through science. I just read a great book called The Autoimmune Fix by Dr. Just got here, Tom O'Brien, and he's confirming how his work has confirmed that they're realizing almost all diseases, whether it's heart disease, cancer, it's all comes down to inflammation. And the inflammation is often related to gut disorders, dysbiosis, which means you've got either gluten or sugar or something has caused inflammation in your gut, breaks through your gut lining so that different nutrients that shouldn't be in your bloodstream are there. And then your body attacks those nutrients and your own body. And it's different with everybody. It goes to the weakest link. So some people might have DNA, they have, they're more likely for heart disease, or somebody else might have joint and arthritis. But it's all inflammation related. And algae is the most amazing thing for reducing that without drugs. And it's so easy that, and you don't get this kind of benefit from a supplement. You don't get this from anything, quite honestly, in such a compressed natural, safe source.
Let me ask you this, Catherine. If you eat like shit in the rest of your diet and you take energy bits, will you get a positive effect from it?
If I what? Sorry?
If you have more of a processed food diet and you're not as mindful about eating whole foods and that kind of thing, is there going to be benefit by taking energy bits?
Absolutely. So that's why I call it effortless. And I also call it intelligent food, because you have to be intelligent to take it and it knows what to do in your body. So if you are eating processed and sugary foods, you're in a boat with a lot of holes. And it's only a matter of time before your boat sinks. However, algae will start plugging those holes. Even if you did nothing else, it will keep you afloat. And I'm all about positive reinformation, not lecturing people and making them feel bad about themselves. So, and change is difficult. That's why when I taught plant-based nutrition for almost a year, trying to get people to eat more vegetables, and I found out that everybody knows they should, but it was just too hard. Yeah. It took too much time. They don't like them. They had gas. Yeah. So that's why I like algae so much. You don't have to change anything else if you don't want to. Just add this. 5 or 10 tablets of spirulina, 5 or 10 tablets of chlorella, and you could even start with 2 if you want. Start with the fewest that you're comfortable with, and I promise you, less obviously will have less of an impact, but it will still have an impact. We've had people who are severely anemic, no energy. People have been on their deathbed literally, and they would just take a couple of these, and they said they had more energy than they'd ever had. They could remember having in 10 years. And again, it's not a stimulant because there's no sugar, caffeine or chemicals in it. It's imagine you're on the desert and you're thirsty and you're just dying for a glass of water. And then suddenly someone gives you this gorgeous, refreshing water with squeezed lemon and mint in it. Your body is just so grateful to be out of that thirst condition, and not only out of thirst, but with something really attractive and great. And that's what algae is like for your body. It's like, oh, thank you finally for giving me what I need.
Catherine, I have one last question for you, and this kind of speaks to those who are still on the fence about giving this a try. Hey, I don't know. Is this really going to work for me? I don't know. What are the benefits I'm going to see? Because everybody wants to, look before they leap. What
Sure.
can someone who is, the healthy person, they may have some processed foods here and there. They may have a few drinks, each one night a week, a few nights a week, maybe a glass of wine every night. You never know. That person's still on the fence. How do you sell them? How do we commit to making this change?
Well, we never did get to talk about chlorella, and this is a good time to introduce it because with the spirulina,
Perfect.
you will notice the benefits. You will notice your hunger gone, your fatigue gone, like within 10 minutes, or even seconds if you chew it, like I do. Although most people will swallow spirulina because it has a very earthy, chewy flavor because of all that protein and whatever. Now, chlorella actually tastes pretty good. At least I think it does. So you can easily turn it into a snack if you have it with, pine nuts or macadamia nuts. And again, it's ketogenic. But here's the great thing: chlorella has, unlike spirulina, which has no cell wall, chlorella has the hardest cell wall in the plant kingdom. And what that cell wall does, it attaches to toxins. It doesn't matter whether it's lead, mercury, radiation, and alcohol. So, and lactic acid.
Wait a second. You're telling me I could pop a few of these and it's going to pull that alcohol out of my system and maybe take away a little bit of that hangover?
Well, you can't do it.
You just sold 1 million of these there, Catherine.
It works every time. But you do for that detox effect, you do need closer to 20 or 30 tablets. Now, because they taste pretty good, especially when you mix them with nuts, almonds, I have them with macadamia nuts, which are delicious, and they can we recommend you take it at night. Unlike spirulina, we recommend in the morning because that's when you're hungry and tired and you need energy or before a workout. So if you take them at night, if you've had a cocktail, you've worked out, you've got lactic acid you want to pull out, you got a couple of beers you want to pull out, you will be sober in an hour and a half, and you will never have a hangover. Ever.
Whoa.
Ever.
How did I not see that on the package?
Wow. I know. I can't. It's there somewhere. We don't want to turn into a alcohol-driven kind of company, but it does. I've had people write us and say, "Well, you saved my bachelorette party in Vegas." In fact, I just came back from Vegas. My dream is one day these will be in every hotel room because not only does it pull out toxins, but it when you're sleeping, that's when you do go through a detox and repair cycle. And so the chlorella has something called chlorella growth factor, which speeds that up. It has the highest RNA and DNA in the world, which speeds that up. It has the highest tryptophan in the world, which improves your sleep. It stimulates peristalsis, also known as bowel movements. So people who are on keto diets, they are constantly constipated. People who are older, constantly constipated. If you have trouble with fiber, this is your answer. So it does so much for you. So, hey, if you take it for not having a hangover, you're going to still get all the other nutrients and benefits. I don't care why you take it, just freaking take it. I promise you, you will enjoy the benefits of it. It's literally, I tell people I'm like Benjamin Button. I look younger every year, and I attribute a large part of it because it pulls out excess calcium from your skin, which causes wrinkles. It pulls out free radicals, which causes wrinkles. So ladies, or anybody who wants to who wants to avoid plastic surgery or Botox, this is your answer. And it's much more affordable, much easier to travel with. No needles required. So between the drinking benefits and the skin benefits, not to mention the better sleep, better digestion, satisfying hunger, travels easy, no mixing. Works with every single lifestyle choice, whether you're keto, vegan, paleo. It's the most ancestral food in the world. You can't get any older than algae. It was the first life on Earth. We're squatters. Algae is the original ancestral plant. Yeah.
Catherine.
So
go ahead, Catherine.
It's crazy, right?
I mean, I'm blown away. I really am. And I'm literally itching to get downstairs to throw a few more down. So unbelievable. I'm so pumped for the audience to hear this and to experience energy bits and give them a try and see what the benefits really are.
Yeah. And I'll just tell you one last thing. So I use that quote from NASA that says 1 gram of algae has the same nutrition as 1,000 grams of fruits and vegetables. So I did the math because we sell large bags on our website of 1,000 tablets. Now, I don't want people to have sticker shock that a bag is $120, but we have a 20% discount code so if you enter Floch Fitness.
That's it. Floch Fitness 20?
You get 20, no, not 20, just Floch Fitness. You get 20% off. Well, so a bag, when I did the math using that quote from NASA, we realized 1 bag of 1,000 tablets has the same nutrition as 551 pounds of vegetables. Now, think about it. That's 551 pounds of vegetables that you didn't have to carry home from the grocery store, that you didn't have to clean, cook, or eat. And at $3 a pound, that would have been, $1,500, right?
Doing the math right now, yeah.
Okay, so with your 20% discount, it brings the bag down to $96.
Wow.
So that's, again, why I call it efficient nutrition. And, just start with 2 a day if you want. We're not here to push the product. We're really here to...
You're saving me money right now. Thank you so much, Catherine. I really appreciate it.
Well, you'll end up you'll need to buy way fewer, if any at all, vegetables ever again. It will reduce your need for protein and reduce your need for snacks. It will replace your multivitamin, your fish oil, your CoQ10, your magnesium, your potassium. And when you take chlorella, which has the highest chlorophyll in the world, it totally replaces your need for vegetables. Now, if you aren't ready to make the big commitment and jump in and buy a full bag, I completely get it. So I would encourage you, we do offer a sample pack on our website for $25, but even better, just go to Amazon. We're the only ones that sell on Amazon $4 gets you 30 tablets. Okay. I to get the best impact, probably 10 is, 30 is even greater if you're an athlete, but 5 or 10 should, you'll feel something. And just try it out. I mean, $4, what do you got to lose, right?
I love it.
And then you get Prime shipping, and then come back to the website and use the 20% discount code because it doesn't work on.
That's what we're talking about. Yeah. And that's exactly what our audience is going to do.
Yeah.
Catharine Arnston coming in from Boston, Massachusetts today. Thank you so much for your time, and I really appreciate it.
You're very welcome. Algae's here for you. Just be open to it.
Thank you so much, Catharine. I really appreciate it. Thank you again to Catharine for coming on today's podcast. If you'd like to try Energy Bits, go to energybits.com, enter the promo code LaFlochFitness for 20% off of your purchase. If you like this podcast, make sure you subscribe. Go online, give us a review of 5 stars. It helps grow the podcast more than you know, and it's completely free to you. Share it with a friend, and we will see you next time with a brand new episode of the Fitness, Wellness, and Longevity Podcast.